ready to do life and business on your terms and truly live your big ticket life. You either make excuses or you choose to level up. What amazing guests living the big ticket life. Woo! Woo! Brandon Brittingham.
Appreciate you having me here today, man.
It's that kind of discernment, that kind of focus, that kind of forward thinking that's so important if you're going to succeed in business today.
Jeff and I are like friends. We're real friends.
We are and so you unlock fortune and freedom without all the stress that normally comes along with it.
It all comes down to your why. Your business, why are you doing it? How is it going to change the world and what's it going to do for your family?
I want you to celebrate your success.
Talk about the struggle. But I promise you, the story is in your struggle.
They'll never be able to say that about me because people only see me working hard at anything that I'm doing whenever they see me.
Focused on your success and the success of those around you.
But being that constant in your community, good or bad, whether things are great in the community, bad in the community, be steady.
Unapologetically do business and life on your terms and truly live your big ticket life. What amazing guests living the big ticket life. And we discuss how they do it and the big ticket methods they use. The things that make your life successful so you do life and business on your terms.
In and of itself, the only limitations that we really have on ourselves is the ones that we allow to be put on ourselves. And most people don't look at it in that perspective.
There's nothing wrong with being humble, but there's also nothing wrong with stepping into your superpower and letting people know who you are.
Get ready to do life and business on your terms and truly live your big ticket life. All right. Well, this is going to be probably one of my most fun and enjoyable episodes. And that's not an offense to any other guest, but man, Jeff Brekken and I have a lot in common, a lot of connections, and we've really gotten to know each other well this year. And I'm looking forward to our time together, man. So thank you for being on the show today and giving your time to my audience and listeners and watchers.
Jeff, it has been, man, thank you for that awesome intro. I got goosebumps looking at all of your amazing guests that you have been on, that have been on your show and with you and dropping bombs and nuggets all over the place. I am honored and grateful to be here with you.
Yeah. Well, you're the only guest that we share a common bond of picking rocks.
100%. And it's Jeff squared.
It is Jeff squared. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. It is. The picking rocks reference, there's not, if you're watching this live or maybe you catch the replay, give us a little comment like rocks if you know what the picking rocks reference is. And it's not people are like, what the heck is that? What are they talking about? You want to fill them in on what that is, Jeff?
Yeah, man. From all the way back when I was 6, 7, 8 years old on the farm, in the frost in Minnesota, at least, rocks come up like every single spring. The frost pushes the rocks, and everything could be blocks, could be whatever was underneath that ground, right? Like it pushes it up to the soil or up to the surface, and you got to go pick rocks. And every farm kid out there that's listening knows about that. And every single spring we were out there picking rocks before we had an actual automated machine with a rock picker, right? And yeah, man, we'd have bunch of friends and everybody that was available to come out and help pick rocks. So yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah. What's interesting is we've got two ladies, in fact, that know what picking rocks is all about. So Carly, thanks for tuning in. It is a difficult job, bending over, throwing them on the wagon. We didn't have no automated machine, when we were doing it. And so Brandy, thank you as well. You know what we're talking about and throwing down out here. So yeah, that was one of those jobs as a kid. You just did it. And the funny thing is, I remember there was one summer. So the farms that I helped on were right around me. And then there was a family farm I would go and help with. And Uncle Donald, he was a hard ass man. He didn't take nothing from nobody. And there was a guy, he was trying to help out, you know, older, you know, an adult guy, needed some help, needed some guidance in life. All he wanted to do was just drive the tractor that pulled the wagon. And he talked more about driving the tractor than anything. Meanwhile, I'm just picking up rocks, throwing them on, throwing them on. Uncle Donald just comes up, taps my shoulder, says, "Go drive the tractor."
And what age were you at?
This had to be 8.
Yeah. I started driving
9.
loaded farm truck on the highway at 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could barely reach the pedals, and
Yep.
it was, man, you know, and people in the city life and without a farm life, like that's how every farm person grew up. Every farm kid grew up. You were doing anything and everything to help on that farm as soon as you could reach the pedals, right?
Yep.
And that's where I got my work ethic, and that's where I got actually at age 9. I asked my dad. I was doing so much that I asked my dad, "Hey, can I get paid like all the other hired men are?" And he goes, "Absolutely. What do you think you're worth?" And I said, $1 an hour. And I was 9, right? And I think back then the minimum wage was like $3.35 or something like that.
Right.
And literally, my dad taught me at age 9 about worth, and it wasn't necessarily financial. It was about, hey, listen, you put the work in, you're going to get paid for it. Right.
Yep. Yeah. You know, and that phrase, putting the work in, do the work, that's a, you know, often thrown around phrase, you know, but folks like us, people who've picked rocks, Carly, Brandy, anybody else, you know, not to minimize other people's work as a kid, your work in your family business, not to minimize it, but there's work, and then there's work, and picking rocks, you know, that was work. Throwing hay in the stalls, that's work. Shoveling, cleaning out pens, that's work. Being, you know, catching a hay bale coming off the baler, that's work. Stacking it, work.
100%.
Right.
But very few kids did that, you know, before age 10 or 12 or even 15, right? Like, you know, the first job, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not taking away from anybody that had a first job at a restaurant or, you know, mowing lawns, anything like that. It's all, you get out of life what you put in, right? And so we just learned it at a little bit earlier pace than most people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say, you know, we can move on. We don't have to talk farm work and kids and driving trucks illegally on the highway, although it all happened and we had fun.
100%.
But, you know, I would say that basis of work ethic and that basis of commitment for me, you know, I mean, I've been working full time since the age of 15, which in Pennsylvania is illegal. I think it's pretty much illegal everywhere at that age. You know, most times you can work weekends underage for like 20 hours a week, something like that. But I was able to do that because and you said restaurant, that's what I did. I worked in diners, and I was a line cook at 15 full time, working in the evening. And I didn't know my worth. That was the problem. Here I was, you know, and they looked at me as just this young kid that's happy to work for minimum wage. I think it was like $4.75 an hour.
Yep.
And you know, I didn't know my worth, and it took realizing, hey, this is being taken advantage of here, and I moved on to another one, and you know, got basically a near 100% increase. But yeah, that hard work ethic and being ingrained in really sets people up differently. You know,
Absolutely.
and I think when you hit that in life matters.
Absolutely. And you said, you know, you didn't know your worth and you went somewhere else and you made double. Well, that's awesome. But to me, you know, and growing up, having my own businesses, I realized that worth is not financial. It can be. It absolutely can be. But worth is, what are you worth? Are you worth being around the same type of people? Say, you know, the old analogy out there. You're going to, if you're the 6th person in a 5-person group or the 6th person to come into a 5-person group, right? You're going to do exactly what they are doing. So if they're out there smoking dope and really not leading a life that is envious of people, right? Like you're going to be that 6th person. But on the flip side, if this group of people is out there doing right by their clients, right by the world, right by the guy above us, right? Like that stuff comes around. And it comes around a lot sooner than people think, right? So if you're out drinking, sitting in a bar 7 days a week, you're going to be the next drunk. If you're out doing amazing things, guess what? You're going to be the next one doing amazing things. And to me, that it all goes against, not against, but it goes into what a person is worth. Are you worth being happy? Are you worth leading a life that you truly want to do and have the freedom, right? It's not about the money, it's about the freedom.
Yep.
And that to me is it wraps up worth very, very good.
Yeah, I love all of that. And you've obviously been getting in those circles, groups of 5 people, groups of 100 people. You're in the right circles often because you're doing some pretty amazing stuff. You've got some big ambitions about a camp for children with childhood cancer. Can we talk about what you're doing with the truck and the RV?
Sure.
Is that
Yeah. Hey, I got
right?
I got none to
I wa-
ask. Let's
I
rock.
wasn't sure.
What do you want to
And here I am talking about it live, and I'm asking for permission to share it. Kind of a mistake. But no, so the thing I say around here is life and business on your terms. You're doing it. Yeah, we're talking in the pre-show. I'm buying a truck, a little different truck than Jeff's buying, but Jeff's a few years ahead of me in this journey with the RV lifestyle. You see my camper in our show rollout in the intro. Jeff's moving to a full heavy duty tractor trailer, 18-wheel type truck that you see going down the road, which is really cool. I've got a high school friend, Tracy, her and her husband do that now. I watched their travels that they share. And so you're looking to go full-time RV. Tell us about the attraction there.
To be honest with you, like this was the last thing on my mind. It was the last thing that I wanted to do. I didn't even know I wanted to do it until I absolutely found my purpose in life, right? Like I get visions of things like this goes back to, when I was younger, I was either on the farm or I was playing goaltender in hockey, right? And it was only those two things. And so I can see, like as a goaltender, I can see the plays develop and I can see life develop just like that right now. And once I found my purpose in life, that is when everything changed for me. I wanted to get around positive people. I wanted to get around into rooms that I had the same mindset of everybody else in that room. I also wanted to be the dumbest guy in the room and be a sponge and soak up all the knowledge that everybody that was in that room had for me, right? And so it's all about, like we talked a little bit earlier, it's getting in the right rooms, getting around the right people, and things just kind of fall into place. And we've got a mutual friend. As a matter of fact, I believe she was on the big ticket here or maybe a month or two ago, but Lisa Marie Platsky, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with Lisa, and we really truly honed in on what my true purpose is in life. And literally there she is. That's awesome.
Yep.
So literally, my purpose, this was back now 12 years ago, but I was coaching hockey and we had a kid on the hockey team, phenomenal family, phenomenal kid, wanted to be, he's coachable, great talent. But he got diagnosed after he scored the game-winning goal in a championship game in overtime. 3 weeks later, diagnosed with leukemia, and died a few months later. And the coaching staff and the players at 11 years old at the time were all pallbearers of that funeral. And I'll never forget that until the day I die. And a few years later, I finally found my purpose, and I want to build a camp for kids with cancer that is absolutely at the base of a foothills of a mountainside. I don't know where this is going to be yet. This has all been coming to me, right? And I actually know that I'm going to, and this is going to be like Yellowstone, right? And this is even before Yellowstone even came out. I had this, but very few people know about it. So I'm glad that we're talking about it. It's going to be medical facility. There's not going to be one person that looks like a doctor, one person that looks like a nurse. There's going to be animals all over the place. And there's going to be counseling sessions for families between a half a mile and a quarter mile away. And it's just going to be a serene retreat that people can come and heal. Right. And that's to me, it's not a hospital setting. I hate hospitals, to be honest with you. Not a fan, but that kind of a setting is going to allow those kids and those parents and families to heal much, much, much quicker. And I already know that. So then from that phase, I actually got a download that said, you need to go on the road full time. And then I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to go with it. And then I got a download that says, while you're on the road, you're going to be at a local cafe somewhere. You're going to meet somebody with thousands of acres of land, and you're going to tell this story. And you're going to do a 99-year lease, money free for this camp. And then everything will go from there. Like I was never super spiritual. I grew up Catholic, nothing against religious at all, but there's a difference between being religious and being spiritual. And now the man upstairs is guiding me, and I'm just going with it, and I'm having a ball.
Yeah. So, title card of our show, lean in, be present, make an impact. Let's talk about that presence. Cause I think for people listening, they're like, what the heck did Jeff just say? There's no way he heard all that specificity in a cafe, 1,000 acres, 99-year lease.
Yep.
So talk about how you kind of establish that presence, and maybe let's define like a download. So that's you're hearing something from above.
I've got guides, and this is not new in the spiritual world. It might be new in if you're not that spiritual or not that religious, but I've got guides that I'll pray to. I don't need a building to pray or talk to God or talk to my guides or anything like that. That's an ongoing thing, like every single day, multiple times a day. So let me back up a little bit. A few years ago, I got to be a little bit more spiritual, got in the right rooms, as we talked about, but the downloads that as soon as I became a little bit more spiritual and I actually believed, right? You need two things to be successful in life. You need to believe, and you need to have faith in yourself and faith in the process, right? So when you have faith in whether it's yourself or the process, and you believe in a higher being, and I'm not saying whatever you want to believe in a higher being, but believe, right? That's the biggest thing. Have faith. Put your faith in that higher being, and things will just happen. And it's automatic. I can't explain it. I don't know, but I have very, very vivid dreams about what has to happen next. And I'm a big visionary person. I'm not necessarily an integrator. I don't like super huge details. I know details, right? But I have people that will integrate my messages into the system, because I just like, my mind goes 1,000 miles an hour on the big picture stuff. That's why I like the big ticket, the name of your show, but it goes 1,000 miles an hour, and I can't necessarily do a lot of the details. Now, if I came down to it, yes, absolutely I could. I've done it for a long time, but I would much rather do the big picture and funnel that through some people. Now, getting back to your actual question was like it could be just a thought that I had, and then literally, like, if it gets put into place, it's like a piece of puzzle. Pieces of the puzzle will come to me, and like it'll fit perfectly, and that's when I know I'm on the right track.
Yeah, and I'll add, and maybe you can expand on this. I've broached this topic a handful of times on the show already. I've talked about it this is real life. What the heck will we be doing if this show wasn't real life right now? Right. Funny way to say it, right? But I've talked, in person. That's the phrase I was going for. If you go through life just thinking everything is simply coincidental and that it just happens, I feel that's a very sad way to look at things. So from that basis, to Jeff's comment, you can believe in whoever, whatever you want to believe in, but I would implore people to not just believe that it's coincidental, because at that point you're completely out of control. You're out of control, and not that you're in control, because I think when you have that higher level of spirituality, you're giving over control. but for good.
Right.
If you just think you're out of control and just twisting in the wind and it's all just happening, I think that's a very sad and rough place to be.
You know, Jeff, I used to think that, and I think a lot of people are the same way. Like, why is this happening to me? Why me? Why me? Why me? Right? Like in the bad things that happen, right? And a lot of people find themselves on a hamster wheel going round and round and round, and each year they're at the same exact spot in their life. And I was like that for a long, long time. And I think, like, this is back maybe 3 months ago. My sisters and I went and talked to my mom, dad, updated their will, all that good stuff. They're in their 80s now. And literally, I asked the question on Sunday morning breakfast. I said, let's go around the table and say what you guys are all grateful for. Name 3 things, right? Family always came up, health came up. And then there was one thing different amongst everybody. But my one thing different was the great things that have happened in life and the not so great things, the highs and the lows. Because guess what? Without those things, I wouldn't be right here, right now, being present with you. That's all shaped me. I always go back to a song, obviously, Garth Brooks, he's in the news now, but whatever. He has a song called Unanswered Prayers. And sometimes that unanswered prayers are the actual thing that needs to shape you into who you need to become, right? The prayers that you truly think that or prayers and dreams, or whatever somebody wants to call it, whatever you want to have happen, sometimes the best thing is that that does not happen, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, it makes perfect sense to me, right? Because I feel from that spiritual approach, we're on very similar paths
100%.
of looking at a picture and allowing the pieces to be filled in. We see the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know what the picture is. If we were to turn that picture over to somebody else, they would look at it and say, all right, I kind of see this over here and I kind of see this down there, but I don't get how it all connects.
Yeah. Again, it's like that puzzle pieces, right? Like, we see the whole picture, and if you cut it up in 100 different puzzle pieces, we just wait for the guy above, the person above, to give us a piece one at a time, right?
Yep.
Which
to
is
place
a
it down
really
in the right
cool
spot at the right time.
Yeah, man, it's a cool way to operate instead of pushing. You can't push. When you push, you get into the same rut and same circle that you were year after year after year. And that's why the pieces of the puzzle thing and talking and believing and having faith, that to me, that is the ultimate.
Yeah. Yep. I just so you know, I didn't cover this in our pre-show, but if you see me jotting down, anybody watching, or even my guests that I have on, I always just kind of timestamp cool moments to share out, because we'll share these great nuggets out later and after, so our time together can live on in a more impactful way. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm not multitasking. I'm not making notes, doing something else. I'm just making a little timestamp in the moment. Just as a little aside, isn't, like, anybody watch it, isn't Jeff like the most cool HR guy you know? Like,
Oh, I'm telling you.
like,
If I'd have known now, 25 years ago, what I know now about things, like, I started my own business in 1999, and I didn't know, nor did I care anything about HR. And it's like, man, human resources, Jeff, you've got a couple companies, and it's not about the product. I mean, yes, you have to sell product, but it's about the human management that people help you, for the people that help you, right? It's all about, if you're not managing your number one asset, which is your employees, right? They're going to leave. They're going to go. And sometimes, sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing. But if you're not managing your HR correctly and your employees correctly, they're going to be gone. And all of a sudden you find yourself on that hamster wheel again as a business owner, going, man, why am I in the same spot? But there's ways to do that. And business owners tend to think of the HR department as a cost center. But I'm telling you, if you're doing it right, and if you're hiring the right people, it's going to be a revenue center because they're going to keep you out of lawsuits. They're going to keep employees engaged. They're going to keep employees happy, right? Do some employee surveys, do some exit interviews. Most companies don't even do exit interviews. That is the number one source that you can implement to get better at what you do and the HR, I guess, overall realm of HR, right? Like most business owners want to sell more. Most business owners want to get better. But in order to do that, you need the solid team of employees behind you in order to do that. If you don't have their buy-in at your dream and at your vision and mission, it's going to go nowhere.
Yeah. One of the best things we did in the retail store was that exit interview question. And it was a great guy that we just couldn't keep. And, keeping him here with us, it wasn't the right thing for him. He was bigger than delivery team. And that's okay. He said he'd be with us. He said he'd be with us up front, which I really respected. When we interviewed him for a year, we kept him for 2. And, at the exit interview, he said, I think the one thing you could, because we asked, what could we improve on? He said, it's a tough job and our bodies get beat up. If you could work in a way to get a break, a paid break, more than a half an hour, like maybe a half a day or a day a week.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that, but that would be cool.
Well,
and so I thought on it.
So, and I applaud you, Jeff, for doing exit interviews, because the people that are there might not be the right person for the right seat on that bus, right? Mm-hmm. But they might be better for a different position that you have, or they just want to do something totally different, and that's okay.
Yep.
Now you're thinking out of the box, and most people don't. They'll think out of the box as an owner and a visionary, but they don't implement that. So literally, like I just got the download that said, hey, have you ever tried giving your people a 1-hour massage every 2 weeks? That's thinking out of the box, right?
Yep.
And it goes to the sore muscles. It relaxes. Yep. It takes the stress out, takes anxiety out. Like, because your people are absolutely, they're lifting heavy stuff and they're up and down staircases and in people's homes and all that stuff. And, like that's exactly what just came to me. And that's what we do at our Iconic HR is we think out of the box. HR doesn't have to be prim, proper. I mean, yes, okay, it should be, but it shouldn't always be rules, regulations, right? It's about thinking out of the box and doing right by your client.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to pick up on the view and the lens by which people look at HR with. But so that exit interview, really what we did and ended up implementing is now we are struggling to find a new delivery driver, but our lead guy now enjoys every Thursday, because it's our biggest freight day. He's at the store every Thursday instead of out on the road. We organize deliveries around the other days of the week, but he's at the store, unloads freight, which is pretty easy. It's just a pallet jack for the most part.
Yep.
Or the driver helps unload the mattresses. The rest of the time, he's just kind of hanging out, doing some simple task work, making sure the truck's clean and making sure the dock area is organized, etc. So he gets that break. When we hire back a full-time person, what we'll do is alternate every other Thursday, you're off. And every other Thursday, one of you's back at the store. And we've had that plan, and it's fantastic because they get that break, that physical break. They're still working. The guy that's off gets paid. So that's a benefit. And for us, it's very simple because right now we're paying over $200 a day for that temp help labor. Now we pay well, but and we're not, unfortunately, we have a great guy, but we're just not able to bring him on. And I won't share any more of that. I would bring him on, but I'm not able to bring him on.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because he'd be a great fit, but we need somebody that can drive the truck, and it just doesn't work out. And so, but that's the lesson from that exit interview is take that to heart and don't just dismiss it and say, well, we work 5 days a week. What do you want me to do? Like, we gotta deliver the product. Well, yeah, you have to deliver the product, but could we expand each day by an hour, which is really what we ended up doing, to get that one day off, which was a tremendous benefit. 2 days off a month paid, and then the other 2 days is real easy. And my sales team that would normally be at the store having to unload those trucks on the heaviest day, they love the fact they don't got to touch it anymore.
Absolutely. You know, the thing
So
about
it's
it is
wins everywhere.
yeah, that's huge. And you found a way to get over that hump and to there's a solution for everything out there. That's
Yep.
you know, people like, oh, that are stuck in their ways. They think that this is the way that we've always done it, so this is the way we always got to do it. Absolutely not. You found an amazing way to get over that that issue that somebody had literally when he just left or he was leaving, he told you about that issue. And it's like, you know, there is some of the biggest things that you can do for your company is do exit interviews. Now I'm gonna caveat this for two things. Number one, our exit interviews are anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour. As a third party, we can get so much more out of these employees that are leaving than you, the employer, can. So, but I congratulate you on doing that. And that was a huge deal. The second thing is that you got to realize, like, you just had that employee leave after 2 years. He knew everybody in the company and was probably really good friends with some of them, right? If he leaves and you don't change anything, who's leaving with them? Like, he could have gone to a competitor and taken all of your delivery guys, all the people in the warehouse, like everybody. So you have to realize that as an employer, if you don't continually up your game with employees, you are, you could actually lose a lot more than just one per time when somebody leaves. It could be 2, 3, 4 people.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
all of a sudden you're behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Reddit. I'm on Reddit, I think I've joined over 100 different subreddits and forums that interest me. And this ranges from guitars to Ford trucks to camping to business. And one of those business related ones is called the anti-work subreddit. And so if you just Google that, as an employer, as a manager of people, a leader of people, I would urge you to check that subreddit out, providing it's not gone dark. If it's dark, it's probably a temporary thing. I don't understand it. There's some dust up with Reddit and allowing plugins and apps, and I don't quite understand all of it. So some of the forums have stopped posting, but I think it'll correct itself in a couple days because it almost always does. But I go there because I want to tune in to what people are thinking and what they're saying. And I share this because in that domain, and again, you got to watch the 5 people you hang around. You got to watch the quality of the water of the pond you swim in, right? Because I'm voluntarily jumping into this one. And I know at times it's not a pond I should be swimming in, right? So you got to watch those inputs in your head. But if you look at it for an input into your brain of a leader of people, of a business owner, it's really good to get some view and some insight in, right? You're kind of like a fly on the wall. And in those circles, in that pond, HR is viewed as the enemy, not your friend.
Absolutely. And in most circles, it is though. It is the enemy.
Yeah.
And that's why most smaller businesses, right, like 30 or under, they typically don't have any HR, or if they do, it's the receptionist growing with the company that became the office manager, and the office manager then became the HR manager with absolutely zero formal training. And they're out there, and I'm not downgrading anybody that has done that, because that literally is the progression of a growing business, right?
Yep.
But you have to step back and take a look at, all right, well, do you want somebody in that position that really has no formal training? That's when things typically go wrong, and that's when it's viewed as the anti-department to have, right? Like, you don't want to go to HR. Well, you should be able to go to HR with anything that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So you're happy, right? Not like the principal's office and you're going to get detention. That's not what it should be.
Right. Right.
You know, you had just mentioned, you know, something about, you know, growing and company growth, and that goes right back to personal growth. If you're not vulnerable and if you're not looking at both sides of the equation, you said that you go on there to look at different perspectives and avenues and all that good stuff. And like, if you are not open to the point of somebody else's observation or perspective, you are shutting out 90% of your potential growth as a human and as a business owner. And you got to be vulnerable to be able to say, okay, I'm going to let my guard down. I'm going to take in everything that happens, and then we'll make a decision from there.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, agree with that 100%. Let's make a right turn in our conversation. So let's fast forward. When do you get your truck? When do you think you'll have your truck? Because you're doing some major modification to it.
Yeah, and so the modifications might be a year out, to what I'm hearing. So my whole thing is, I don't like, this thing is going to be super long. It's going to be almost 85 foot in length without towing something on the back, without a car, you know, towing a car. So I'm going to extend the bed of the truck to about 20 feet, which means that'll bring it to about 37 feet, just the rig itself, and then hauling a 45 foot or pulling a 45 foot fifth wheel. And so it's going to be fun. I can't get into a lot of campgrounds, but those are not the campgrounds I want to be in. I want to, like, again, it goes right back to the circle thing, right? Like, I want to hang around with people that are positive, that are people making an impact, that are just out there to have fun, be free, as well as do good things for good people, right? Yeah. And so the places that I'm going to have to go are going to be people that are business owners, that are making an impact, and they want to continue to make that impact. And that's one of the reasons I've decided to go that route. Not only that, is a bigger truck is obviously going to be about the same fuel economy, but it's going to be much nicer riding, air ride cab, air ride tires and axles, as well as air ride seat. And if I'm going to be in a seat traveling across the country for 10, 12-hour days or whatever that is, I don't want to be bouncing around without air rides. So it's kind of that piece of the thing too. The other thing is that this thing's got like a whole work system set up 3 feet behind the cab. And so if I got to pull over on an exit ramp and do a Zoom meeting with a potential client or something like this, you know, that's an easy thing to do. And so that's one of the reasons why I've got that set up too.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to put a bow on the visual Jeff's painting there, this is a tractor trailer with an extended frame where you can drive a Jeep up on it, so you don't have to tow anything on the back of the trailer. And then you hook a fifth wheel RV camp trailer to it.
Behind that.
And Jeff is mobile living, which has become such a big part in our society. There's so many people doing it. But no, you're 100, and it's the reason I asked the question, because I figured you had that answer, right? You had that puzzle was largely pieced in, right? Yep. I think maybe, would it be fair to say the only pieces of that puzzle that are left unplaced are maybe direction and when it starts, and that's just out of your control at this point.
Oh, it's going to start this fall.
Okay.
So that is for sure. It's just, you know, I don't know if you've heard, like, trucking market. There's been like 9,000 trucking companies go out of business in the last 6 months. It's just, everybody got into it because it ramped up because of so many, I guess, well, when everybody was at home during COVID, they needed more shipping, truckers, you know, all that stuff, right? So a lot of people got into the trucking business. Well, right now people are getting out of it, and as they go out of it, each truck, like, it gets less and less and less and less expensive, right? So right now, a bigger rig, I can buy a really super big rig for much, much, much less than a brand new F-350.
Yeah, and an F-350 with a big trailer doesn't.
Correct.
It does the job, but you're still working.
Right.
You're with what you're going to be driving, it won't even it'll be like it's not even behind you.
that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a rhyme and reason what we're doing, and it's all about helping people, and making a big impact to be able to have the freedom to do it.
Yeah. Man, I just love that you're going down that road. It's so cool to see people do it, see people live it. Um, I love it all. Love it all for you and happy for you on it. Um, so take another turn in our conversation. Hockey. What'd you think of our Stanley Cup playoffs this year? Or the Stanley Cup playoffs this year?
I wish I was the head of the referee organization in the NHL, because there'd be a lot of people that got suspensions, especially after the last game. So yeah, I love the competition. I love that the two teams that were in, they deserve to be there. And typically, like Boston had the best record all year. Like, they just blew everybody away. But guess what? Like, usually when it comes to playoffs, you got to up your game. You can't be just doing what you're doing in regular season, because it's a whole different level.
Very appropriate to life and business, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So the people that, it doesn't matter. You could be 500 all year and start peaking at the right time. That's the team I'm in with, right?
Yep.
And instead of peaking all season or early in the season, and then all of a sudden you got a gradual flow down. But I'm a hockey guy through and through, and I still play to this day, and I'm just loving it. The team aspect of it and the camaraderie, and just like any team-based sport, right? You just have something to go to, and again, it's like business. If you're not looking at it as a team and how you can always improve, just like you and I are part of a couple of masterminds together, and most people play sports, and I shouldn't say most people, but the people that play sports, whether it's high school, college, whatever, they get out of that situation, and all of a sudden, there's no life coach, there's no athletic coach anymore. And with coaches, as a life coach or as a business coach, anything like that, you want to up your game, get into that, right? Look and see who can coach you to get you to that next level. And how Sammy Knight, man, what an amazing individual.
Yep.
I've had a few conversations with him in the last couple of months, and just, you talk about getting into the right rooms around the right people. Like, you and I met Sammy, Lisa Marie Platsky, like, just some amazing individuals that give you their time just to sit down and be present with you, and you're going to learn so much, right? That's the biggest thing, is be present, put the phone down, and listen.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, when I said it can't just be coincidental.
Correct. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. So you and I have the honor, and really we're pushed and moved into the path of people like Sammy Knight, who is super successful, high net worth individual, but you'd never know it. If you cross paths with Sammy in a gas station, you'd think he's your local good guy, maybe got a couple grandkids, figure you'd catch them fishing. And all of that's true.
100%.
But there's a lot more that's true about Sammy Knight. And, same with Lisa Marie. You would think, wow, what a put together lady, speaks well, intelligent, probably leads great people, and, all of it true. And then there's so much more. Yeah. And it is about getting in those right rooms with people and being open to it. And it's also, a little bit of responsibility on you, like you said, you want to be in that RV full time in places where you can meet others with impact.
Yep.
So that's not going to happen at the local Joe campground.
Correct.
That's
not going to happen where there's tents. That's not going to happen where there's, and again, nothing against that. It's just, if you live life with a purpose, that's what happens, right?
Yep.
You don't just willy-nilly go wherever you think you want to go and and expect to get a result. You can't do that. You have to live with intention and live with purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, by design of your RV setup, you are forcing yourself into that purpose.
Correct.
You're forcing yourself into that commitment.
That's right. 100%.
Because you can't, I mean, an 85-foot rig, just so people, because, you know, you and I are intimate with camping. We have a lot of knowledge around it, experience around it. For everybody listening and watching, by the way, a little plug to watch the show because we do live stream this. Great video, great production. We have things on the screen. It adds to the experience. And I'm an experienced guy. I like to give a good experience to the things I do. So you should always check it out. And that's helpful with my friend Chris at Cast Ahead. He does a great job making us look great. But, you know, I kind of lost my train of thought where I was going there.
Well, the 85-foot rig.
Oh, yeah, the camping.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So for everybody that isn't in the know about camping, so what Jeff's done is, you know, we have a fantastic national park system in our country. We really, truly do. But Jeff's going to have to go visit that in his Jeep.
Correct.
Because national parks, you can't bring in anything more than a 30-foot rig.
I would say 70% of campgrounds, you can't bring in a 40-footer or 45-footer in there. And all of a sudden now we're 85 feet, right?
Yeah. So you're going to be rolling into the RV resorts, you know, and some people who define camping as tents, and that's fine. Like if that's where you derive your joy, if that's what you love to do, there is a holistic, natural benefit to getting on the ground, which is the vibrational energy you're going to give through your camp to people, you know, to these children with cancer. That's a fantastic benefit that's going to happen there. But the benefit for me, my body, my back, I don't derive benefit sleeping on the ground camping. You know, I joke.
We want a great mattress, don't we, Jeff?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I joke the only thing that keeps me honest with camping where I do it, again, the picture you see in the intro is, and I think that picture is even really a little crazy because I got the movie theater set up in that one, but the outdoor movie theater. But yeah, the only thing honest for me in camping is the occasional snake that'll come through and the bugs. You know, that's it. But the AC, the internet access, the movie theater, the comfy 0G chairs that I lay out, you know, the mattress in the bed. Yeah, all of that is glamping. But again, to bring it back to a pointed conversation for our listeners, maybe you can expand on that forced purpose, right? Like you're all gas, no brakes in on this because an 85-foot rig ain't going to be cheap to drive down the road. It's not going to be cheap to park in overnight. So
yeah,
expand on that thought of forced purpose. Like you're making yourself level up by doing this.
I have done a ton of research on this, Jeff. And the one thing about it is like, there's about 6,000 places in the US that I can take this thing, right?
Holy cow.
Whether it's there's things like winery, right? Wineries typically are going to be closing at 10 o'clock, but almost every golf course, bigger golf course, 18-hole golf course is part of this group. Like they don't have a lot of people unless it's, they have a wedding or something. Right. But like I can go and camp for free in the golf course parking lot. I can go to any Cracker Barrel. I can go to any Walmart. I can go to any Lowe's, just for overnight. Right. And then there's also truck stops that also have campgrounds right beside it. So you have the full hookup, you have water, you have electrical, you have all that stuff. But there's a lot and people really don't know about it. And it really has blossomed over the last 3 years. As you know, like there's tons and tons and tons of people that want to go full time on the road. And I know people with families that have gone full time they're homeschooling kids and they're graduating early from all the testing and all that stuff. And they're getting into the top colleges. And, I'm past that now with my kids, but it's just one of those things where if you're living with purpose and living with intention, there's a flow to it, right? You just don't go willy-nilly on anything at that point. And I've got a great team behind me as far as, you know, the iconic HR staff. And like I said, like I told you, like I'm a visionary guy. I am not necessarily the detail person. For those of you who don't know, like there's visionaries out there and then there's integrators, and you need both to have an absolute successful company and life, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great topic to wrap up our time together on, about that mesh, that blending of visionary and integrator. So that's kind of the rocket fuel, Gino Wickman speak.
Phenomenal guy and phenomenal book,
yeah,
by the way.
yeah, you should get it if you don't have it. But there's the disc assessment, there's Colby, there's all these things that blend and mesh about people and leaders and managers and business owners and their teams that they build. I'm like you, I'm that visionary, right? Like, I do not like doing the detail work, but I'm empathetic that it needs to be done. Like, I can't do anything that I do without the people around me. It's impossible.
Right.
And so
And that's where HR
yeah,
comes in. Like, you gotta be able to keep up on that, because a visionary is I mean, it's like having a 25,000-foot view over or look at, right, with your business. And it's, if a visionary gets so far into the details, they will get depressed, they will get overwhelmed, they'll be
this guy right
stressed,
here.
there'll be anxiety. Like, I've been there, and I don't
Yep.
ever want to be there again, to be honest with you, because that it just chips away at my visionary. And that's me. I'm a true visionary. But every time I have to get into the details of something, I lose my vision. And it's like I lose myself and who I truly am.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that understanding of who you are. And we didn't even really get to talk about this too much, but you've got to focus as well on the mental health and well-being of those around you and those you lead.
Yeah.
Right. So understanding who you are in these personality tests, again, Jeff nor I are, we're not pitching one or the other, but you should have an understanding, because if you're constantly in struggle with yourself about where your true skills lie in the seat you're in, whether that's a business owner or somebody who works or a leader manager, if you're in constant struggle, that's a real problem.
Well, you're going against your opposing forces, right? Like, that's people that they go to college, they get a degree in something, they think they love it, and then all of a sudden they change and do something else because they can't find a job in what they were trying to do, and they hate what they do. They get up every morning and they just don't like to go to work. That's an opposing force right there. You are not living your purpose. Live with passion and do the things for work that you're absolutely passionate about. Guess what? You're not going to work a day in your life if you do that, which is pretty dang amazing.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with that. I talk a lot locally, with people in my community, with leadership in our school about, man, the bedrock of education is shifting under our feet right now. And what we should be saying to graduating high school kids is, take a couple years to figure yourself out.
That's right.
College is going to be there. And the question we need to ask is, why isn't education doing that? Why are we conscripting 18-year-olds to debt that they can never get out of? That's right. Now, I'm also a believer of, this is a whole, this is
2 more conversations.
Yeah, this is like 4 more conversations. But, so we're conscripting these young adults to debt that they can't get out of. At the same time, I'm also a big advocate of free will, choice, independence, liberty. But then I go back to, well, if I disagree with education, that it's almost borderline fraudulent of everybody must go to college, that's the only way you succeed in life. Well, if that young adult who spent a third of their life in school has been told that all their life, were they duped?
That's right.
Like, if you invested with Madoff, you were duped into a Ponzi scheme. You got some resolution from that, I guess, but we don't get that resolution with education today. So I'd much rather see that 1 to 2 years, go figure yourself out. And
the other thing too, Jeff, is like, we grew up in an era that we had home ec, we had welding, we had workshop, we had all that stuff. And basically in most school districts, that's gone. Right. Well, now all of a sudden you look at and see like blue collar versus white collar or office jobs. Like, office jobs, you're coming out of school, maybe making 50, 60,000, maybe, right? With benefits.
Mhm.
But plumbers, heating guys, egg related stuff, like they're making six figures and they didn't go to school for 4 years because there's such
Mhm.
a shortage of those individuals.
Yep. Well, you're 100% right. And I mean, if, the state of our education, if they truly believed where their focus seems to be today, if they truly believed it, they would be pushing for those skills and careers and trades, because
Right.
it's not just that a child can make, or a young adult can come out making high 5 figures into 6 figures with a couple years under their belt. The reality is, within that 4 year span post high school, the swing in debt to money made, and I've done the math, for the average person is about $250,000.
That's right.
Well, if they really believed the positions that they're taking now, they would be pushing for every child to be going that route, because $250,000 for the people they say they care most about today in education, that's more money than the parents in the house have made likely in the last 5, 6, maybe 8 years.
That's right.
Okay. So there's a big disconnect, and like we could talk, my producer Chris knows this is a passion subject for me. I've done 2 full episodes on this called Success in America. You should check it out on my channel. I had some other great people, Fabian Rubal, Gladys Jeanette, Robert Nelson, Ashley Herrera. I think there was one more I had on.
Phenomenal people.
Great people. And we really dug into this topic. But yeah, I mean, it's and it does circle back to our conversation about that purpose in life and where you are at and that position you take with leadership and how you care.
Right.
How you care for those you're charged to lead.
There's a good saying that says, "Do unto others as you want to be done to you." And I think I just maybe messed that up, but it's one of the 10 commandments, right? Like,
Mhm.
if you don't want something to be, if you want to be present, right? Be present, and hopefully that person will be present with you. Put the phones down at night. During a conversation, a lunch meeting, put the phones away. Leave them in the vehicle. Like, just be present. I guarantee that you are going to learn much, much, much more from the person, across the table from you, or the group that you're with, versus having that phone or looking at the wait staff or looking anywhere else. Be present. Amazing things happen.
Yeah. As we look to wrap up, I'll ask you this. Do you have notifications on your phone?
Most of the time, 90% of the time, they're all silenced unless I am expecting a phone call, then I unmute, but 90% of the time my phone is muted.
Yeah, same here. That's a real trick. Like, if you're struggling with that, if you're struggling with screen time, turn off all the alerts, especially your social media apps.
Yeah. Now I do summaries now.
Yeah.
So like 3 times a day I get a summary, like morning, noon, night.
Neat.
That way I don't have, the emails coming in every 3 minutes. I don't have all the social media stuff, notifications coming in every 3 minutes. Like, it's 3 times a day.
Yeah. That opens up a lot of space where you get to listen. And to circle back where we started, you do get to hear these things, these downloads, these memos.
That's right.
The clarity of, Jeff, you're going to find this camp with a building a mile down the road to help people. And it's going to be impactful. And the person you find in the diner is going to be so bought in, they'll give you a 99-year lease.
That's right.
Can't get that with all the noise that you willingly open up to in life.
And every time I think about that, I get chills. Just as you were saying that, I get chills. Yep. And that's how I know I'm on the right path.
Yeah. Love it, man. Love it for you. I've enjoyed our time together thoroughly. I always do. Thank you.
Yep. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, appreciate you. Appreciate your time. If you want to get a hold of Jeff, we've got all this stuff in the show notes, iconichr.com. All those links are there for you. Instagram, iconic.hr. Jeff's lined up. He's got everything kind of all the same. So that's smart. And
that's my team, brother. That's my team. So I appreciate them.
Yep. So check them out, iconicher.com. Thank you, Jeff, for coming on the show. Very much appreciate you. Everybody else, we'll see you next week on The Big Ticket Life. Take care. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of The Big Ticket Life. You've heard from another amazing guest living their own big ticket life, and now it's time to live yours. First, I'd love for you to take me up on my free gift to you. Claim your gift at gift.thebigticketlife.live. That's gift.thebigticketlife.live. See, all your life, you've been told what is and what isn't possible by the loudest voices from the cheapest seats. It's time to finally do life and business on your terms. Sure, you've heard similar things, but without clarity on what can be done, it's easy to have your customers, employees, maybe even partners, and your spouse keep you from truly living a big ticket life. My big ticket methods shift you into that investor seat in your business, away from commodity and away from competition, into a market of one, so you can finally live your own big ticket life. So my gift to you is for you to book your discovery call today, where we'll uncover first the Chivo behaviors, those chief everything officer behaviors that hold you back, and why moving into the investor seat in your own business is critical. 2, we'll uncover the premium position that's up for grabs right now in your market that you're missing out on. And 3, which big ticket methodologies are just waiting to be dropped into your business to explode your sales and profits. So again, thanks for listening to this episode. I'd love for you to take action right now. Accept this gift, book your call, go to gift.thebigticketlife.live. Again, that's gift.thebigticketlife.live.